almost feel like I was deserting myself if I felt good about myself, which is crazy.
Of many people who don't have lives that we want.
There's a wonderful Catholic monk and mystic called Thomas Merton who talked about how we live in other people's minds.
Here's the uncomfortable part. You already know none of this should bother you, and it bothers you anyway. That's not a character flaw, it's biology. For most of human history, getting rejected by the group wasn't an inconvenience, it was a death sentence, so your brain still treats a stranger's opinion like a threat to your survival, even when the actual stakes are zero. 3 men are about to answer what to do about it. A self-made entrepreneur who built his fortune on being disliked. A comedian who still can't say one kind sentence about himself without flinching. A physician who spent 40 years proving the problem was never your personality. They don't agree on the fix, and by the end you'll see why the disagreement itself is the answer. Watch closely. Each one is right, and each one is only telling you a third of the story.
Don't listen to other people's opinions. Friendly reminder that most people are fat, poor pansies, and don't listen to them when they try to deter you from whatever it takes to succeed. The average person will always try to keep you average. It makes sense that if you want to be extraordinary, you will do things that an ordinary person would see as extra. This is the really hard part that I had to come to terms with. It's that a lot of people want to see you fail because it justifies the risks that they chose not to take. We always have to think about listening to the people who are closest to our goals, not closest to us.
We yearn for the approval.
Notice what Hormozi actually just did there. He didn't hand you a coping mechanism, he handed you a dare. Ignore them sounds like strength, but say it out loud to anyone who's actually tried it and it collapses instantly because it was never a strategy. It's a wish wearing a tough guy voice. If willpower alone could kill this feeling, therapy wouldn't be a billion-dollar industry. Skip the wish. Here's someone who stopped pretending willpower was enough. Comedian Theo Von. Live with Tony Robbins, saying the quiet part out loud.
Sometimes I have a tough time feeling proud of myself. Do you know what that, and I think I've had other people call in our show that have talked about that,
What do you think it is?
I don't know. I feel like, I almost feel like there's a disconnect, like it doesn't even land on me. Or I feel like maybe if I feel like I'm proud of myself, like if I actually feel proud of myself, it'll go against some script that I've always had written or some thing that was always written inside of me. It's like it's almost like it wouldn't, if I wrote on the wall of myself, I'm proud of you, it wouldn't even fucking show up on the wall.
What emotion would you feel if you saw that?
Like what emotion would I feel if I saw what?
I'm proud of myself. Would you go bullshit? Would you be pissed off by it? Would you be annoyed? Would you just
No, I think I'd feel ashamed of myself for even thinking it.
That's interesting. And it produced an emotion in you just now, even when you just thought about it. I saw that flash in your eyes. It's just a little bit of water, a little bit of fluid.
Oh, yeah, dude. Fuck, we cry on here every week. Sorry, dude. Yeah.
Notice the exact word he just used. Not sad, not nervous. Ashamed like pride itself is the crime. That's not a mood, that's a verdict he's been handing himself for years, and Robbins just proved it's involuntary. It produced an emotion before Theo even finished the sentence. That's the whole disease in 8 words. Your nervous system still grades you on other people's opinions like your life depends on the verdict. Because for most of human history, it did.
That's right. But my point is, there's a real anchor for you there. So let me explain it to you. Everybody has what I call an emotional home.
Yeah.
Do you ever?
Emotional home. Sit with that phrase for a second because it's doing more work than it sounds like. Robbins just told you the version of you that feels safest isn't the version that feels good. It's just the version you've lived in the longest. A house you never chose and can't stop coming back to. That names the feeling. It doesn't tell you who built the house. For that, you need someone who spent his entire career in the foundation, physician Gabor Maté.
Like there is no one like Dr. Gabor Maté.
Could you say more about that?
We've been talking tonight about worrying about how we're perceived by others.
Yeah.
And how that blocks us from things in our life.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Why is it that we're so obsessed and addicted to what people think about us?
Well, it's a great topic, and I think in this culture it's a fundamental one. There's a wonderful Catholic monk and mystic called Thomas Merton who talked about how we live in other people's minds. So when we're concerned about what other people think of us, how they see us, perceive us, judge us, love us, hate us, we're not living in ourselves. We're living in other people's minds.
Under 2 minutes, 3 men, 3 completely different answers to the same question, and here's exactly where most people get it wrong. They'll pick whichever answer flatters them most, ignore the other 2, and call it their philosophy. That's not insight, that's cherry-picking a diagnosis you like better. Here's the real shape of it. These aren't 3 competing opinions, they're one mechanism photographed from 3 different distances. Hormozi is showing you the price tag, what it actually costs to stop being average. Theo Von is showing you what it feels like to pay that price in real time with no theory to numb it. And Gabor Maté is about to hand you the receipt where that bill actually got written. None of that is a contradiction. It's the same wound getting more specific the closer you look. Round 2 starts now, same 3 people, but this time you're not looking at the feeling. You're looking at the machine underneath it.
And so if they have a specific life, then it means that that is what they think is valuable. And if we don't want what they have, then why would we value their weight on our decisions?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you have this, they're like, we have this mold that is my life. Your life no longer fits my mold. And you're like, right, I don't like the pot that mold makes. And so somehow when people state the obvious, which is that you are living your life against my preferences, we somehow feel like that needs to change because when we're younger and growing up,
we can't leave.
Yeah, you can't leave, and you do need to live your life according to your parents' preferences, your teachers' preferences, your classmates' preferences, your principal's preferences. But when you get older, you do have to break the mold and decide what mold you want. And in so doing, you will be against their preferences. And if the vast majority of people have a life that you don't want, then you're going to do things that the vast majority of people don't agree with.
Notice the pivot Hormozi's about to make. He's done arguing philosophy, now he's handing you a number. Do what everyone else does isn't a neutral, safe default. It's a documented outcome, and he's got the receipts: obese, divorced, broke. That's not a personality flaw. That's the actual measured result of following the crowd.
I feel very passionately about this particular topic because it means that the path to exceptionalism is lonely.
That's Hormozi's price tag, and it's steeper than most people admit. Isolation, friction, people quietly deciding they like the old you better. Easy to nod along to that in theory. Much harder to actually live inside it. Stop nodding. Watch what it costs in a real room, on a real body, with no script to hide behind. Robbins and Theo Von right now.
Watch like a place here, and let's say, where the cyclone happens every 2 or 3 years and it wipes out everything, or a tornado comes through.
Oh, yeah.
And you see these poor people, all their stuff's all over the ground and they're picking it up, and you could have a heart of stone not to feel. They rebuild. 2 years again, it happens again. 2 years later, it happens again. Some part of you eventually goes, why don't you move? It's like, why don't you move?
A lot of Vietnam's like that. It floods. New Orleans is like that. It floods.
New Orleans like that. So here's why don't they move? Because it's home. It's what they know. We have an emotional home. We have certain emotions that got built up in your youth. I had 4 fathers. I had a mother that was pretty intense, and I had a lot of emotions that came out of that experience. If I didn't reprogram myself, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today, because my emotional home was not good feelings. It's what I was used to. So even though it didn't feel good, you go there because it's what you know.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. So
it almost felt like I was deserting myself if I felt good about myself, which is crazy. I'd almost feel like I was leaving. I don't know. Yeah, it's almost like I know those feelings.
No, finish that thought. I'm leaving what?
Well, it's almost like I feel like I know those feelings of not feeling good about myself so well that I don't want to leave them alone, because...
Look at what actually just happened, because it's easy to miss. Robbins didn't hand Theo Von a slogan to repeat in a mirror. He forced a real-time contradiction, proof on the spot that feeling proud of himself didn't kill him, didn't betray anyone, didn't collapse the world. That's not motivation, that's evidence. And here's the trap most people fall into watching this clip. They'll decide it only worked because Tony Robbins happened to be in the room, and go back to waiting for their own Tony Robbins to show up. Stop waiting. Robbins isn't the tool. Understanding exactly why the old pattern felt like home in the first place, that's the tool, and it doesn't require anyone sitting across the table from you. Which is exactly where this goes next, back to Theo Von, and then to the one man who spent his whole career explaining where that pattern gets written. years before you're old enough to argue with.
For myself, part of me is still, there's a heavy bit, even to my whole new story, to having a new story, even having some success in my life. It's almost like some of it feels embarrassing, you know?
And some people feel like, the word people use is imposter syndrome. It's all bullshit. It's just fear that you're not enough. We all have that fear, brother.
Yeah.
I feel that at times. I don't feel it much now, but I'm 63 years old and I've done a shitload of things for 40 years,
You built enough pattern.
Yeah, I built up new patterns.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle. Everybody's got the muscle. If you use it, it grows. If you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't ever disappear though. It just looks like it's not there. But if you...
A muscle, that's the word Theo Von reaches for, something you rebuild through reps, whether you're 25 or 63. Robbins doesn't disagree. But notice neither of them answers the harder question. Whose job was it to do the first rep for you before you were even strong enough to try? Gabor Maté has built an entire career refusing to let that question go unanswered.
How can I reach my full potential? And what is keeping me from my full potential? There's no accusation in that. There's no self-judgment in that. There's no self-rejection in that. It just says, how can I reach my full potential? And that is a lifelong process, but it's a beautiful one.
Read that carefully because it's easy to hear it wrong. Maté is not telling you to relax, stop striving, and call your flaws a personality. That would cancel out everything Hormozi and Theo Von just showed you. What he's actually doing is more surgical than that. He's ripping the accusation out of the process. Growth was never supposed to feel like a punishment for being broken. That feeling is the injury talking, not the truth. Hormozi never told you to stop pushing. Theo Von never told you to stop lifting the weight. Maté is the only one who tells you what it's supposed to feel like while you do it, not a sentence you're serving, a version of yourself you're actually walking toward. That's the difference this entire video has been circling since the first clip, and it's the difference that actually changes something. Zoom out and here's what actually happened across these three conversations, once you stop watching them separately. Not one of these men told you to just stop caring what people think, because that was never real advice. It was a slogan people repeat when they don't have an actual answer, and you heard it collapse in the very first clip. What they gave you instead, without meaning to hand it over together, is a complete mechanism in 3 parts. Hormozi named the price. The road to anything worth having runs straight through other people's disapproval, and that disapproval was never proof you're wrong. Most of the time it's proof you're different, and people confuse the two on purpose, because admitting the difference means admitting they chose not to take the risk. Theo Von showed you what it actually costs to pay that price from the inside, when the old, smaller version of you is the only home you've ever lived in. And choosing something bigger feels like betrayal instead of relief, even though it isn't. And Gabor Maté showed you where that home got built in the first place. Not a life sentence handed down in your childhood, but an unmet need to be truly seen, one you were never responsible for creating, and one you are fully capable of meeting yourself starting now, without a single ounce of self-punishment. Put those 3 pieces together and here's the actual answer none of them could hand you alone. Self-worth isn't something you talk yourself into. It isn't a mantra, it isn't therapy alone, and it is absolutely not one good conversation with Tony Robbins. It's evidence stacked one choice at a time, every single time you act like the person you're actually becoming instead of the person your oldest fears have convinced you that you have to stay. If that actually landed. Don't just nod and scroll past it, follow this channel. This is exactly what we do here. Real breakthrough moments from real conversations, in their own words, no filter, no fluff, just the moment it actually clicks.